This videotape by Jetsunma Ahkon Lhamo was recorded live before a public audience. Jetsunma presents traditional Buddhist teachings in a contemporary way. She reaches out to us, longtime Dharma students and newcomers alike.
What I'd really like to talk about tonight is prayer. Prayer and being, which, because of the information that we've gotten culturally and because of our habitual duality, not understanding the nature of primordial wisdom view, we see things in separate compartments. And so being and praying to us seems like two different things. And so I'd like to correct that notion. And I'd like to say that what inspired me was, do you remember when the great tsunami happened? And many of us were moved, thankfully, to go to the stupa and make prayers for the people, the many people that had died, and to make prayers of hopefulness and helpfulness for those that may be still alive and could still be rescued. So many of us did lots of prayers at that time. We were circling the stupa, and it was an amazing thing that I saw. I saw people good-hearted, well-meaning, really caring about what was happening, concerned, even thinking, what must this be to be washed off the face of the earth? And many of us came to begin praying. And so that was the good part. But then I looked at us and I saw not one knew how to pray. And I'm saying this lovingly, not with any sense of judgment or ugly feelings or put down, or I want to tell you how much I appreciate the effort for prayer. But now we've come to the place in our lives where we're getting a little long in the tooth, and it's time to learn how to pray. Many people that came to the stupa, you could tell they were new people or people that maybe weren't familiar with Buddhist practices, and they were doing their best, simply doing their best, walking around and around the stupa. And I could tell that they were concerned, they were thoughtful, and they were asking something. They didn't know what, maybe God, but they were asking from some transcendent force to intervene and benefit those that were hurt. And then I saw those of us that have been practicing for a while, and maybe we were doing the 7-line prayer, many of us were, or Vajraguru mantra, or we were doing maybe Vajrakalaya mantra. I saw some of us were doing that, or Tongling, the sending and receiving. We tried in different ways to pray, but still in all, it seems like we just don't really have a true and deep and profound understanding of what prayer is. So I would like to talk about that. It's a good thing to go to the stupa wishing to pray for others and to recite mantra and to dedicate the mantra. It's a good thing. But now we're ready to go much deeper than that, aren't we? To simply recite mantra and dedicate it, that's a good starting point. But we should really only consider it a starting point. If that's what you know how to do, do it. Having taken the Bodhisattva vow, each and every one of you is required to do all that you can to help others. So if you only know how to recite some mantra and circumambulate the stupa, that is A-OK. That is peaches. And if you go to the stupa in a heartfelt way and you say maybe some prayer in your mind, just asking that please benefit these people, please help them, that the ones that have died that are in the bardo, please help them, please be with them, like that. This is a heartfelt and caring inner posture to take. And if that's what you know how to do, then that's what the stupa is built for. You go there and you do that. Because as an aspirant on the path, this is what you are required to do. You are required to step up to the place where you can be of benefit to others. Because that's really what the path is. The path is not a selfish trip. It's not a self-absorbed trip. In fact, on the path, we strive to become less and less self-absorbed. And a self-absorbed phenomena in your mind would be the exact opposite of prayer. 180 degrees away from it. So most of us, unfortunately, we practice our lives with a habit of self-absorption. And so we spend most of our lives praying opposite. You understand? It's like we are holding a prayer that is based on samsara. Has no good result. Without exception. Without exception. Self-absorbed people are the unhappiest people on the face of this earth. Whether they have money or they don't. Whether they have a home and a car or they don't. Whether they live in a simple thatched hut or they live in a mansion. The people that are self-absorbed and self-cherishing and locked up in their own inner phenomena are the unhappiest people on the face of this earth. And of course, the tragedy of that is that we are taught that if you think more about yourself and get yourself more stuff, and maybe line up a few parties and relationships and cars and, good times, or even line up a few, let's say, retreats that, but they're fun retreats. You get to hike, you get to hang out, you get to work with your soul. But the Buddha has taught us that, first of all, we have no soul. Which is great, because there's a place uptown. Well, never mind. The Buddha taught us a teaching called anatta, which means that that the absence of soul, that there is no self, that all that exists is a primordial wisdom nature with all potential, every potential, including the idea of self, including the idea of dreams, including the idea of phenomena rising out of emptiness. All potential is there. And so because all potential is here, this potential is here. One of the ways in which this nature, this primordial Buddha, could explain itself, could display itself, is in phenomena. We cling to that phenomena. We cut our teeth on that phenomena. That phenomena has been our experience since time out of mind. And so we are used to it, we are accustomed to it. It's the only thing that makes us feel safe, oddly enough. And we spend all of our time contemplating the solidity of self-nature. That self-nature is inherently real. We think that if we hold on to self-nature, we'll be safe, because we'll be us. I'll be staying here, you'll be staying there, and we'll continue in phenomena. Because we identify with this body, thinking it's ourself. But in fact, there is no difference between phenomena and emptiness. It is the same nature. It is the same essence, the same taste. So while our habitual tendencies cause us to remain in this delusion of separation, still this nature exists, wholesome, absolutely complete, perfect, with no need for aggrandizement, with no need for construction. It is as it is. This is the nature that is our nature, and it is much our experience even now, as phenomena is. But it frightens us. So we cling to phenomena. And sadly enough, we become self-absorbed in that process. We think, oh, this is myself, this is me, I got to take care of it. I got to do what's right by me. I got to have fun. I got to have fun every day. At least once. I have to have excitement. There has to be pleasure. I've got a list, And that's our experience, even though emptiness is at hand now, even though we experience emptiness in our nature now, even though the Buddha nature that is our nature is complete, doesn't need any tinkering. Still, we cling to self, to the idea of self. And of course, that's the trouble that we're in now. Even physicists, quantum physicists, or quantum physics is looking at the universe in totally crazy new ways now. They're beginning to understand that it's a multidimensional fabric. And they're beginning to understand that their math's not working. So there's something else out there that they can't figure out. I have all kinds of things I could tell you right now. Do you want to hear them? The reason why it doesn't work out, is because they leave out one of the components of reality: consciousness. Time, space, and consciousness are inseparable. So they're looking out there for the birth of the universe, aren't they? Way, way out with their telescopes. In my house, we tried a little trick last night. Let's do this. My daughter said to me, okay, so when did it all start? How did it all start? How did it happen? How did all of what I said? I laugh at the Big Bang Theory, you see. And I don't like the other one too, either the Christian one, 7 days and all, nah. So my daughter said to me, and they're all waiting, what's the answer? Maybe she's going to give it to us now. She said, how did it start? How did this explosion of phenomena start? And so I said to her, close your eyes, let everything go, dissolve into emptiness. So she did. And then when I can tell she finished doing that, or couldn't do it for too long, then I said that was it. That was the moment. That was the Big Bang. That's when it started. That movement. That was it. It's not out there. And yet we pray as though it is. We pray as though God is listening, as though nobody's in charge, unconnected, you know what I mean? Kind of unconnected. We do it by rote, like a parrot learns. We repeat and hope for the best. Almost like a magic incantation, thinking this will work. But we need to wire ourselves up and get connection. Actually, the scientists are right about some things. This is a multi-dimensional universe. Phenomena appears in so many different ways as one can conceive. As many different ways as one can move away from emptiness. That's how many threads and universes of threads and multiple blah, blah, blahs, whatever they are out there. Cosmological wonders. That's how all of that started. Not somewhere else, in us. And it's like a dream in a dream. It's like we have these dreams, and in the dream, sometimes we know that we're dreaming, don't we? Sometimes we know that we're supposed to change something in a dream. And if you get really good at this and you learn how to work in your dream state, like with practicing dream yoga, if you learn to work in the dream state, you can actually wake up for a dream or hold the line between waking and dream and know exactly where you are. There are many things that can be accomplished in dreams. And that's because the dream state is a bardo that's not much different from the living state. But we can train ourselves to wake up from the dream. Why is it we can't train ourselves to wake up from this? Because the condition of this phenomena, as we are now, is that we have experienced dreaming and something else. Dreaming and waking. So we can wake ourselves from a dream because we know where we're going. But we can't wake ourselves up from this dream because we don't know what to waken to. But it's a dream just the same. And the universe is an absolute entanglement of intentions, dreams, and potentials. And each one of us, every sentient being, experiences a separate and different phenomena. I know we're all in the same room, but everyone here is experiencing right now a separate and different phenomena. According to your karma. See? Some of us might be experiencing, if we had pure view, we would say, oh, I'm listening to my teacher. This is bliss. I'm learning this. This is bliss. This is like nom, 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 food. And then others of us might be thinking, well, I agree with that and I don't agree with that. This sounds good, but I don't know about that. And then others of us each one of us has a different angle on that, as you know. We all have our little thing that we do. None of which is very helpful. Because our separate approach must be understood as being simply more potential. But it's potential in samsara. The route in samsara, the road, the places that you can go in samsara are endless. They are infinite. Just as you can conceive something, more phenomena is created. Lord Buddha himself taught about interdependent origination, that cause and effect arise spontaneously, linked. We don't see them spontaneously. I mean, not spontaneous, what's the word? Simultaneously. Cause and result arise simultaneously, at the same time. And so even though we see the cause, but we don't see the result, it's because that's the nature of this reality and of our phenomena, is that we are still in that place where we cannot awaken from this dream, and it seems that everything is outside. It's all outside. And so we pray like that too. We think, oh, I'm praying to Guru Rinpoche and he's going to make everything better. And that's not what Guru Rinpoche taught you, unfortunately. And then we think, I'll say some words or I'll say some mantra and magically it will go there. and sprinkle stardust on everybody. You know what I mean? It's like this idea that there's no connection. We don't have any idea how there's going to be a benefit. And so let's talk about this. Let's talk about how to pray. In order to pray, let's understand that, first of all, we are uncontrived. All that is, suchness, is the uncontrived primordial view. It is every potential in its essential, uncontrived form. Your nature is such that if one tries to describe it, that's not your nature. Because to describe the nature limits it. Here in this dream, we can't see the nature. We have a chance to see the nature, to see the view at the time of our death, if we train and practice. And so that's what we're all working for, hopefully. And then at that time, we can realize our non-duality, and there is realization to be had there. Our nature is that which is unborn, and yet absolutely complete and perfect in every detail. It isn't made, it isn't grown, it can't become stronger or weaker. It is conditionless. Conditionless. And so we practice view to allow the boxes in our mind to fall away so that we can recognize that conditionless state and awaken to it at last. And so our prayers have to be like that as well. Truth be told, we haven't really awakened to that conditionless state yet. Maybe we've had a few experiences in our meditation, a little bit of emptiness, a little bit of something, maybe a little taste of, sometimes we have a little taste of bliss if we really go deeply into our meditation. Sometimes we have a little taste of emptiness or uncontrived, natural abiding. It's only for a second, but we might have that taste. But for most of us, we are unable to disentangle or to let the boxes down so that our view opens and we are in a state of recognition. And so because of that, we are taught that we should rely upon the three precious jewels, the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, and particularly the Lama as the embodiment of all three. In other words, when we see the Lama, we are seeing the Nirmanakaya form of the Buddha. That's the body form. It's a body appearance of the Buddha nature in phenomena, like a projection of the Buddha nature in phenomena. It has appearance, it has characteristics, but they are gossamer thin. They are insubstantial, like dew on a hot morning when it completely dissipates. It's like that. And so we rely on our teacher as the representation of that. We rely on the Buddha because the Buddha is the doctor and gives us those teachings. He tells us what's wrong with us and he tells us how to fix it. And the Dharma is like the method the medicine. It's the method, tried and true method that practitioners have tried for thousands of years, really. And even before this Buddha, there was another Buddha. These are the methods that have been used since time out of mind to escape the suffering of samsara. And so it's medicine. Dharma is medicine. And the Sangha should be respected in the same way if you were in a coma and there was nobody to take care of you but the nurses. Boy, you would have great respect and love for those nurses. If you could not care for yourself, let's say spiritually, and you were not yet awake, we rely on the Sangha as the nurse. The nursemaid brings us the medicine. The nursemaid supports us, lifts our head when the pillow needs changing. You see, like that. And so we are in this state and we are taught to rely without wavering on the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, and the Lama as the embodiment of all three. So, how do we pray then? How do we rely on the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha? Well, first of all, you have to get connected. You have to get wired up. And the way we get wired up is to practice refuge. Because when you're doing those 100,000 prostrations, which are absolutely necessary, and when you are taming the mind to concentrate and to view the three precious jewels, like as though you were hanging over a giant abyss with crocodiles at the bottom, and it's way down there, and you have one string to safety. That string is held by the three precious jewels. That string is Guru Rinpoche, is the Lama. And that's what we've got. So start climbing. And what I mean by that is to sincerely take refuge deeply in the most profound way that we can. And there are different ways to do that. One does that in sit-down practice. But one can do that walking around too, because we notice from time to time that we're taking refuge in other things. Taking refuge in TV, or we're taking refuge in our social life, or we're taking refuge in, our computers, or whatever it is that we like to do in particular. So these become to us our refuge. We go to them to be happy. Again, we are practicing the 180 degrees away non-prayer when we do that. So we should realize that here we are in this dream state, and we are relying completely on the awakened one. We are in the dream state, but we are relying completely on the teachings of the awakened one in order for us to awake. Why would you rely on the teachings of someone that was also sleeping? That's the blind leading the blind. We see that a lot in the New Age. Lots of teachers with lots of angles. But they have no record of having produced enlightened students. And they themselves have no record of having been enlightened. And so it's the blind leading the blind. Maybe it's a little better. Sometimes we may go to a church and the minister's maybe a couple of steps up in wisdom from the people that he is serving. And so that is a worthwhile thing. Yet still, if you really want to practice the Buddha Dharma, we think of ourselves as creating that connection to the three precious jewels and to the idea of the awakened one, whose teachings have come from that awakened state, whose medicine that we are taking now, this Dharma teaching, this method that we are using, this method that we are using came from that awakened state, fully awakened. Lord Buddha was called the perfect one. Because in every way, in every appearance, in everything that he did, he demonstrated that state of pure awakening and enlightenment. So the first thing that we have to do in order to really pray is to let go our pride, our clinging to self. The one that says, I'm praying. The one that says, look at me, I'm praying. The one that says, maybe if I recite this mantra, it'll go over there to that person. That's not very awakened, is it? It's pretty dualistic. Yeah, it's okay. It's a good start. But it's pretty dualistic. So, our pridefulness is the main obstacle to our true prayer. Actually, there were two main obstacles: doubt and pride. These are like little demons running around. Doubt and pride. There's a Christian teaching, actually. I'm going to bring a little dovetailing action here, if you don't mind. I do not claim to be a Christian minister, but I do very much value the words of Jesus. And know that he was a great realized bodhisattva. And so let me talk about this for a minute. He once gave a teaching. He said, it is easier for a camel to get through the eye of the needle than it is for a prideful person to enter heaven. What does that mean? That means we have no chance. No. That's not actually what it means. Actually, in ancient Jerusalem, there was one single gate that goes into the city. And that gate was very low and very small. And in order for a camel to get through it, he had to get down on his knees and crawl. And so that teaching is an indication that pridefulness is the obstacle. And it's a very good teaching. For pridefulness is the enemy. When we proudly take up our Vajra sword and think, hey, I'm going to be a Vajra warrior, it's actually that very demonstration that should be slain. We should pick up that sword and destroy pride. Because with prideful thoughts, we are clinging to self-nature as being inherently real, and we are always in a state of judgment. If we're high, others are low. And so we have it this way. I'm here because I wear robes. They're there. And gurus and Buddhas are up there. Wow. How is that helping? That's some crazy stuff, isn't it? You just have to wonder whether when you're praying you're doing any good in that condition. And so the most important element in, again, learning to pray is to let go of the pride. The idea that I am a practitioner. I am praying. I am doing this. I must be good at it. Me, I. I better go to the stupa and do a good deed. Like that. Instead of that pridefulness, we need to develop a sense of humility. Well, is it humility? No. It's more like an awareness that we are the same. Same nature. All of us are expressions of the infinite possibility of the primordial, uncontrived wisdom state. Like different colors, like white light going into a crystal, and the colors are all broken up into different shades and beautiful reflections like that. Do we cling to the colors and no longer look at the light? Do you see what I'm saying? Do we only look at the display and not look at the foundation? What would be the benefit of that? And so instead of that pridefulness when we get ourselves all ready to pray, we should do like the camel, get down on our knees in a way internally and say, here are my brothers and sisters. Some of them swept off the face of the earth by this giant wave. Some of them are hungry. They've lost their families. Many of them are in the bardo. Maybe even, if no Bodhisattva had prayed for them, they might still be even in the bardo at this time, because it takes often 49 days to escape the bardo. And it's only been about a month. Boy, if that doesn't move you, just to think about what that's like. And so when we think with that kind of compassion and consider the situation of other sentient beings rather than just worrying so much about ourselves, to simply consider their suffering, to keep one's ears open to their calls, to their suffering, and to recognize that they are the same, not higher, not lower, the same. Each in their nature is the very Lord Buddha. Each in their nature will someday be enthroned as Buddha and will save other sentient beings. There's no difference. The haughtiness that we have, the games that we play, it's got to go. Pride, which leads to anger, by the way. Ever notice that? You notice when you're angry, you were prideful first? Oh, yeah. Because you're right. Yeah. So what we do now is we kind of adopt that posture of a clear hearing of the calls of sentient beings. I hear you. I am not separate from you. And we think about the three precious jewels. We have to hear the cries of sentient beings and then remember that they are the same as us. It could easily be that in the next lifetime we are in their position and they are in ours. It's like the continual game of the hunter and the hunted. The prey becomes the hunter in the next life. And then after that, they come back and do it again in an endless dance until the karma is somehow miraculously dissolved through practice. We are the same as them. It is our privilege to benefit them. A privilege. When I think of my students and their great potential, I hold them up above my head. I am privileged to participate in their unfolding. It is a privilege to honor you. No, not the personality. You understand? You. That which you are. And so it's that kind of posture. Untangle your pride. Sometimes you just have to untangle it. It's like a constricting force on your heart. It keeps you from opening up. It keeps you separate. It keeps you miserable. and it affirms samsara every day. It's like you're going Om Samsara Hum. You know? You're praying for suffering with pridefulness. Do you realize that? I bet you've never thought of it that way. But you're actually praying for more suffering. Praying to continue in the land of lost ones. So we are taught to lose that prideful stance. And we learn to connect, to wire up to the three precious jewels. We realize that in samsara, there is only samsara. That's it. Whatever it looks like, whatever color it looks like, however dynamic it appears, because samsara will dance and seduce. Samsara will say, drink me. Samsara will say, eat me. Samsara will say, come and play. Be free. Samsara is a whore. She is a bitch. She will come and seduce you and make you suffer even more than you thought. So, as we realize that others need our help and we begin to heed their calls, we turn to what is real, what is profound. From the great void, from the absolute, uncontrived, undifferentiated, spontaneously complete emptiness is the brilliance of the great bodhicitta. The great bodhicitta is the first movement, like the first word. The first movement is the arising of the Buddha nature in a gossamer, seemingly phenomenal form. Bodhicitta, the first movement of emptiness, containing all potential, the big yes. Separate from nothing, containing all potential, containing all accomplishment. The great bodhicitta is the first movement of the Absolute, and that is also called compassion. Compassion is your nature. You have deprived yourself of the deliciousness, the comfort, and the happiness of true compassion, of the bodhicitta for so long, that the bodhicitta seems to you like something you have to work on, or maybe an outsider that you have to bring into your home. How sad. Because it is your nature. When you're all in your head, being all in your self-absorption, you are denying yourself the nectar. That is the first movement of your very nature. And so if the great bodhicitta is really the first appearance of any kind of phenomena, is the underlying reality of the appearance of any kind of phenomena, then you are that. So is the meanest little bug in the world. So are spiders and lions and tigers and bears and everybody. They all have that nature. And yet they live in a state of sleeping. But we are practicing to be awake and we are wiring up. So we think to ourselves, what is the way? How do I do that? How do I see the bodhicitta? How do I develop the view, the unconstricted view, the uncontrived view, the not dramatic view, the undecorated view, the not fancy view, the real view? How do I do that? First, we practice Guru Yoga. Without Guru Yoga, you will never learn to pray properly. Because Guru Yoga is the nest in which prayers are developed. In Guru Yoga, we see the Lama as the embodiment of all the fields of refuge: Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, protectors, dakinis, all of the text, everything. Owners of the land, we see the Lama as all the fields of refuge, all of the excellent, extraordinary displays of Buddha nature that did not arise in samsara, but are pure and untainted. We look to the Guru for that. Now, once you've picked your Guru, you got to stop whining. That's it. I've given you the guidelines by how to judge if you're in the right place. Do you see compassion? Do you see wisdom? Have the lamas of the lineage given their blessing? What have we got here? Okay, if you decide, and if the other lamas have told you this is your Guru, then after that, that's your boat. You're in your boat. That's your boat across the ocean of suffering. What makes it precious and valuable is that if you have a proper Lama, then your Lama has made that trip before. Knows the way. And if you're practicing real Dharma, unchanged, from teacher to student to teacher to student, in an unbroken lineage back to the original source, Guru Rinpoche himself, then if you are practicing like that, you remain seeing in a way that you've never seen before. You have chosen your Guru and you look to your Guru like a child. Once you've chosen the Guru and you see that the Guru has the appropriate conditions and qualities and everything is complete, then you approach like a child without judgment, asking kindly, will you help me? Without fear. Without ordinary samsaric ideas like, I like the way my Lama dresses, or I like the way my Lama talks, or I hate the way my Lama dresses, and I hate the way my Lama talks. Whatever, we have these ideas. You are finished with that, and you must put that aside. Now, of course, it will rise up in your mind. Judgment rises up in our mind because it is our habitual tendency. But that's your battle. That's where you take a stand. Draw the line. That's baby stuff, and it's done. Once you put your trust in your teacher and you say, I know that you have been taught by the great lamas, that have been taught by the great lamas, that have been taught by the great lamas, and all of them in an unbroken lineage have achieved enlightenment. That's the door. That's it. That is the door. And so, whatever it takes, whether it takes getting down on our knees, challenging our habitual tendencies, changing, because we have to be willing to change. Dharma cuts like a knife. It's supposed to. It's doing a big job. And we have to do a lot of work, because most of our life we spend Om Samsara Hung. That's what we're spending. That's our mantra. So we have to accomplish a lot of mantra. So we look to the teacher, we look to the Buddha, we look to the Dharma, we look to the Sangha with determination, strength. And now we're in a ticklish place because we're letting go of pride, and yet at the same time we are supposed to develop this tremendous Vajra courage that says, this is right, and I am going through the door of liberation. Now, if you were saying that from an ego level, I'm going through the door of liberation. That's not the same as that Vajra pride. One is like pridefulness, ordinary samsaric pridefulness that makes you look like a big dope. And the other is Vajra courage, steadfastness. Here's where you grow up on the path. Because you have to change your habits. You have to change utterly and completely. You know what prayer is? Prayer is this. That's prayer. Through your practice, you become absolutely non-dual with the Guru. That is the wish. That is the hope. That is the method. That is the way. You mix your mind stream with the Guru like milk with water. And they can mix perfectly, And constantly, we practice Guru Yoga here and we practice the shower of blessings, and that's wonderful. That's a great place to start. But how many minutes do we miss? How many hours do we miss? How much time do we miss playing around in ordinary puddles, in ordinary reality, when the ocean of wisdom is within reach? The Lama is not a separate person that you only get to see every now and then. When you see the Lama and you know that that is the Lama, you are looking at the Nirmanakaya form of the Buddha. Guru Rinpoche said himself, I will be there in the form of your root Guru. When you call out to me, I will be there. And so the most important practice in a nutshell is to remember the part of Guru Yoga where you receive the threefold empowerment from the Guru. In Guru Yoga we receive the white light to purify body from the Guru, from his head to our head, or then from his throat to our throat, the red light, the red empowerment of speech, from his mind to our mind, the blue empowerment of mind. And of course, in the shower of blessings, it's the two gurus in union. And we receive that empowerment, and that's an empowerment that we should be receiving 24 hours a day. Every time your mind has a little space, just every time you can remember, and you must train yourself to remember, receive the nectar, receive the blessing. Why not? Instead, we walk around saying, I'm lonely. I need my space. I need to go out and do stuff. I need to spend some money. And we whine and carry on in samsara. And yet every minute, this amazing, phenomenal connection is available. We should develop the habit of constantly keeping that connection. Any moment that we think about it, we can, if you have a minute, say the 7-line prayer and ask for the Guru's blessing. And there you have it. Om boom, boom. Because when you ask, it is always given. There's no time that you ask and it is not given. It happens that you can't receive sometimes, but you just keep trying. It's your habit. Eventually, over time, and we should do this while we're praying, this is prayer. This is prayer without ceasing. This is constant prayer. This is the personal model of what we're trying to do here by having a practitioner all the time. Constant awareness of the non-duality with the Guru. And as we practice, it goes deeper. When we do our sit-down practice, the empowerment becomes easier to receive. We go deeper and deeper and deeper. And then we learn something. When we receive that empowerment, our mind is mixed with the Guru, and so the blessings are all present. Pridefulness will stop it, because now you go, oh, I'm empowered now. Oh, wow, the white, the red, the blue, it really worked. You got to watch for that. You have to watch for that. Because that pridefulness, again, is the opposite of prayer. We connect up, we wire up, we know. This is my Guru, I am unshaken. This is the method, I am unbroken. This is the result, and I'm going. And we keep like that constantly. We allow ourselves, anytime we take a break, anytime we have a moment, just flash on your own root Guru appearing as Guru Rinpoche and receive the empowerments. Why would you let your mind do what it does? Receive the empowerment. Mix your mind with the Guru's mind. Awaken to the non-duality. The nature that is your nature. When we mix our minds with the Guru, we are deeply empowered, not pridefully. Deeply empowered with the bodhicitta. I can hear the calls of the suffering ones. They fill my ears. When we take this empowerment and we mix our mind with the nectar of the three precious jewels, then we can pray. We see ourselves as the same as the Guru in nature, not in a prideful sense, but in nature. And having received the blessing of the Guru and of all the masters that preceded my Guru, I am now able to pray. Now I can do Tongling. When I do Tongling, I really give the merit of my lineage. I really take upon me, take within the suffering of sentient beings. Why? Because now I can handle it. I have the power of the Vajra masters. That is my joy, my bliss, my ecstasy. I am never separate from them. And when a bodhisattva, let me tell you a story that His Holiness told me. He said to me, I said, tell me, what is a bodhisattva? What is a Buddha? It's when I first met him. What is it you're recognizing me as? And he said, what is this? And he said, it's like this. An ordinary practitioner can practice their whole life and accomplish something. They will accomplish something like maybe a chance to practice better in their next life, or a very auspicious rebirth, or the chance to achieve a higher level. But when a bodhisattva practices, even if they don't sit down, even if they make a wish, I wish a temple would grow up here. I wish sentient beings would find the way to the path. I wish sentient beings would be happy on the path and revel in the strength of the path. I wish sentient beings to receive the connection of this blessing that absolves and dissipates suffering. That's my wish. And so if a bodhisattva wishes like that, the world is benefited uncountably. And if a bodhisattva wishes for a thing to be so, like those that are in the bardo now will be liberated, and there is no separation between the lamas of the lineage and that bodhisattva, that thing will be done. So prayer is when you are in a state of awakening. When the bodhicitta, that is the nectar of the guru's mind, is mixed with your own mind, and the nectar becomes inseparable. That nectar is the bodhicitta. And when one speaks with the authority of the bodhicitta, in the way of the bodhicitta, that is prayer. A great bodhisattva can command that a thing be done, and it will be done. His Holiness told me that a great bodhisattva can manifest treasures from nowhere, like we do every month. Huh? And there's like a vast kingdom of treasure will be opened. Do you hear the sense of potency I'm trying to describe? It's a sense of being fully mixed with the nectar of the bodhicitta, being fully aware that your nature is the bodhicitta. It is the bodhicitta that benefits sentient beings. When you are aware that you are that, it is that you send to others. When you look at someone and you are that bodhicitta, you look at someone and just by looking in them, the bodhicitta will wake up. That's the power. That is the power of the bodhisattvas and the Buddhas. That's why they can do things that we wonder how in the world they can do that. When you think about His Holiness, he just had a few monks and he built up his tremendous monastery, and he's still going everywhere. He had nothing. And now he is the king of the Nyingmapa, the king of Dharma. There is no one that surpasses His Holiness. Think about that. And I know from experience that when he looks at my heart is his and it's opened. He recognizes the bodhicitta in me, and I practice to mix my mind with him, and therefore it's done. And that's the potency of prayer. Now I can pray. No pridefulness, simple gratitude of receiving the blessing of the Guru in a humble way, making many offerings and receiving that blessing in a humble way. Being confident, not prideful, confident in that blessing. And therefore, you can pray. Now you have the bodhicitta. Now you are the bodhicitta. And that is the potency and power that you rely on. So it's time now to really get cracking with the bodhicitta, with the Guru Yoga. To practice it personally and also in group, but to practice it personally in such a way that all the time you're receiving the blessing. It's not like, I don't want to do like where we have to go to church every Sunday to receive something that'll last us the rest of the week. It's not like that with the Buddha Dharma. It's every minute. It's a path. It's a way of life. And it is the true method to achieve the precious awakening. Now, when we know that other beings are suffering so terribly, and we have found this jewel, and it's in our hands, And this nectar is given freely. I ask you, why not learn to pray?